Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again. It's been a little bit since I've made a video like this where I'm just recording and probably putting it over some gameplay of a random Twisted Metal game. Hard to say. But with that, this video is going to be me going over my top 10 things that I feel need to be in a brand new Twisted Metal game, if and when one comes. The reason I'm making this video now is I really think more than ever this is a great time to talk about what we as the fans feel should be in a new game that is more than surely to come, with the hype around the television show that at the time of this recording is coming out in about 6 days. So very soon, super hyped for it. And from the previous trailer that we saw and a couple other promotional videos from Peacock, they've shown a lot of clips and little snippets and stuff like that from the TV show that have gotten really all of us in the TM community very hyped about it. There are, of course, still some people who are skeptics, and I'm a little bit skeptical myself in the sense of I don't think it's going to be a masterpiece. I don't think it's going to blow anyone away, but I do think it's going to be fun. And that's what matters to me. As long as it's entertaining, it's silly, it's fun, whatever. And the biggest thing is they've clearly shown they're putting in a lot of Easter eggs towards the Twisted Metal fans. So if you've played any of the games in the past, you'll probably see something in the show that you can go, whoa, I've seen that before. That's crazy. So I am excited to see that. I'm excited to look, frame by frame, basically on every episode for things I might see in the background, for little Easter eggs and stuff. They've already pretty much given away Easter eggs on Pizza Boy being in the show, Drag Queen from TM4 as well being in the show, and even Small Brow references with Hammerhead being in there, which is super cool. So with that being said, this is not about the TV show. This video is about my top 10 things that I feel should be in a brand new Twisted Metal if one is in the works. So let's just go right into it. Number one, I do hope that we see some returning favorite vehicles. I hope that we see at least Spectre, Thumper, Axel, Sweet Tooth, Outlaw, Mr. Grimm, and Darkseid. Even like Mr. Slam would be really cool to see a return as well. But of course, everybody has their favorites. Everybody has characters that they wish would make a return. I would even love to see Pizza Boy make a return, or even Club Kid. Just some off-the-wall characters from TM3 and 4 that just don't get enough love, in my opinion. It would just be really cool to see some type of resurgence for those characters that just really deserve it, in my opinion. So yeah, that would be the number one thing, is I hope there is some type of returning characters. It's not just a brand new cast of all new cars. A lot of people are speculating that if there is a new TM game in the making, it's going to be a reboot of the series, just like 2012 was. But I think 2012, obviously, even though they weren't able to fit every character into the game, single player that is, for their own story and have their own vehicle and their own character driving said car, they still brought back the old characters, or a lot of the old ones, which was cool to see, but they also added a lot of new ones. So that goes into my second point, is I also hope they include new characters, kind of like TM4 did. And now, the reason I say TM4 is because when you first start out the game, you pretty much have 90% new characters, like new blood into the Twisted Metal tournament, and it was really cool to see that. It was brand new designs, new special weapons, but some of them did of course correlate to old characters, old favorites, and some of them literally were old favorites, like Mr. Grimm came back, Warthog came back, stuff like that was cool to see. And then of course, if you unlocked the bosses, the boss characters, pretty much every single one of them was a returning favorite, and I think that was a really cool idea. Do I think they need to bring back having a boss on every level? Hell no. But I do think bringing back, old favorites like that would be really cool. Even if they're behind like a cheat code or something, right? Just bring back the old days of having to look up cheat codes and type it in and you unlock a character. Even if they did that to unlock special old favorites, I'd be fine with, as long as we get both in the game. Number three, I would love to see a return of the create a car mode that we had in TM4 as well. I think obviously it was a rushed game, so they couldn't make it very robust. It was pretty limited. But it would be really sweet if in a new game with a new engine, they could really put it to the test of adding a lot of different options, kind of like Need for Speed does. There's a ton of customizations you can do in those games to make the car your own. And it'd be even sweet if somehow they could add some type of editor in the game where you can make your own special weapon from scratch. Just imagine if they added something like that in a Twisted Metal game to where you could make a car uniquely yours. Obviously, it would come down to a balancing issue. They have to figure out how to make the damage output the same for every created car so you're not overpowered compared to other vehicles in the game, and especially if they were allowing you to use said created car in a multiplayer faction. And we'll get to that later. But with that, I still would love to see some type of created car come back. Or even if we don't get that, some type of creating custom skins or mods maybe, especially if we get a PC port of the game, which I'm crossing my fingers we do, because the modded community would just go crazy with Twisted Metal. I know it would be a huge hit. But yes, having some type of creating custom skins and versions of said character, kind of like we got in 2012 a little bit, is just a really cool option. I would love to see that make a return. And one little thing I'll add to that as well, even if we don't get any of that, you know, no create a car, no create a skin, whatever, as long as the developers were to release like season patches, you know, like maybe have a season pass, even if you have to pay $5 or $10 for skins, if they released certain skins for different vehicles, fan favorite vehicles, I think that would also be very successful as a microtransaction. I know it's kind of weird to say as a gamer, I want to see microtransactions. I'm not saying that, but I am saying if we don't get any of the other set options I already mentioned, I wouldn't mind paying $5 for a skin pack for different cars that I would play in the game. And I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. I think that'd be a really cool option, and it's probably something they are thinking about. So that could be a reality. But again, I 100% would rather have a create a car / create custom skins for the better before ever having to spend money. But, you know, any one of those would be pretty cool to see. Number 4 is a dedicated single player mode. Now this might ruffle some feathers. I might get some dislikes for this from diehard Twisted Metal fans, and you got to hear me out on this and also wait for my number 5 on my top 10, okay? I promise it'll make sense. So for number 4, I want a dedicated single player mode that honestly, it'd be cool if they included a more in-depth overarching story to really put Twisted Metal on the map as a legitimate single player game. Kind of like, I don't want to say like GTA or Red Dead Redemption, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of overarching story that really just goes on in history, has a lot of depth to it, a lot of interesting characters, makes you feel for them, all the 9 yards. It'd be really cool to see. Maybe add some missions, and even like an open world setting would be really interesting to see for a Twisted Metal game. Honestly, at this point, they could even do that and they could market it or model it after the television show. Because as you guys know, the television show doesn't take place in a Twisted Metal tournament like it used to in the past. It's about one guy pretty much traveling the entire country of the US to deliver a package to somebody. And while he's doing that, he runs into a ton of different people, has to do fights in cars and all that stuff. I think they could do that in a single player mode for Twisted Metal. I think that could be a reality, but it would have to be done very seriously. I think it would only work in the style of Twisted Metal Black. I don't think it would work in a more cheesy, campy light. I really don't know that for sure, obviously, but I think it would make more sense in the world of Twisted Metal Black if they were to do that. But I would like to see that, regardless. I think it'd be really cool just to be different. And now this leads into my 5th one, and this is why I said to, you know, keep listening. Trust me, I'm not going crazy. For my 5th one, and I know for a fact this would never happen, but I also would love to see a tried and true tournament mode make a comeback as well. And that, of course, is with Calypso returning to grant a single wish to the victor with all new storylines for every character this time, not just 3 of them like we got in 2012. And again, it would have to be one or the other. There's no way the developers would be able to do 2 of those. That would just be insane. So I would like to hear in the comment section below, which would you prefer in a brand new Twisted Metal? Would you prefer my number 5, which is to tried and true bring back the tournament again with Calypso, but this time have new storylines for every character, and the storylines are just literally a beginning, a middle, and an end cutscene, just like we got with Black? Or would you prefer what I have with my number 4 pick, which was adding a dedicated single player mode that could be like an open world setting with a more in-depth overarching story with one main protagonist doing specific missions? Which one would you think would be really cool? Now, again, it comes down to, do you think the tried and true tournament mode is just, I don't know, is it old? Is it old-fashioned? It wouldn't work in today's age? Or do you think it still would? Do you think it still holds up to this day? It's totally up to you. And again, I don't have either one that I'm more like wishing would happen. Either one would be fine with me. That's why I put both of these on the list. I didn't want to just narrow it down to one, because either one of these would be really cool to see. So again, if someone from the development team of this new game is listening, either one of these would be really cool, but it has to be one of these. If you go somewhere outside the box with this and you don't do either of these, I will think you will upset a lot of fans of the series. I just want to put that out there. Number 6 is a dedicated multiplayer, and this is what I think 2012 had an issue with. They didn't stay tried and true with just the traditional deathmatch, last man standing, and team deathmatch modes. They went a little bit over the top with adding a ton of extra modes that nobody wanted to play with Twisted Metal. They just don't work. Yes, they could work with with certain things, like for Twisted Metal Black Online, for instance, they added like a relics mode where you have these different abilities you can pick up that give you different abilities, right? Different superpowers like super health, or you can regain health over time, or you can have a shield where if you do a shield special attack, it will deflect the weapon back to the other opponent. And there's a ton of stuff like that that adds a lot of creativity and a lot of extra strategy to the online element that I think was a lot of fun. So they could easily bring something like that back as an extra mode. But I think when they went too over the top with like the nuke mode and stuff, there's nobody wanted to play it. Nobody wanted to do that. They just wanted to jump in and do a traditional deathmatch against their friends. And I think that's all they need to work on. As long as those 3 or 4 game modes are perfected down to a T before launch, this multiplayer could stay forever. Like it could just continue to grow in popularity. All they would have to do is over time just add more maps, add more characters, just keep it fresh in that regard, and it would stay working. It would still be an amazing experience in 2023. Now, a lot of people have speculated that they might be working on a battle royale mode. If the multiplayer is only battle royale, that's all they do, I will hate it. I will play it, I will try it, but I don't think it would last. I really don't believe it will. I think battle royale is kind of on the way out. I think it's on the decline. It's not any more popular than it was 5 years ago with the rise of Fortnite. But now even Fortnite's kind of dying off, so I think it'd be really stupid for them to just do a battle royale mode. But if they added it as a second option, they had the tried and true multiplayer with the stuff I just mentioned, but they added a second mode called battle royale, I think that would be genius. Because not only does that give extra modes and extra playtime for the players, but it gives them a chance to kind of test the waters, to be like, which one is getting more love, which one's getting more players in their servers. And if they notice more players are playing the traditional stuff, they could, kind of phase out battle royale over time. Or if more players are playing the battle royale, they could continue updating that, but just leave the deathmatch and stuff alone the way it's supposed to be, because there are going to be dedicated players mostly playing that. But at least then you have options for your fan base, not just forcing them to do one or the other. So I think that would be the best scenario, would either just be straight up just traditional deathmatch, last man standing, and team deathmatch and leave it alone, or giving us the option of battle royale. Those would be the 2 best options in my opinion. Number 7, and again, this probably would never happen. I understand today more than ever, it's super difficult and expensive to get the rights to have commercial music in your games. And honestly, most people don't even want that anymore because they have Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, and they listen to music on the side while they're playing games, so they don't need it in the game anymore. However, the nostalgia fan in me, it really just would love to see a return of Pitch Shifter and Rob Zombie type soundtracks to return to a Twisted Metal. I just think those kind of bands, those like underground, at least at the time, new metal, industrial rock, I think that just fits Twisted Metal so well, and more than any other genre ever. I don't think hip hop should be in Twisted Metal. I don't think even heavy metal makes sense. Like AC/DC and stuff just doesn't fit, in my opinion, with Twisted Metal. It needs to be like an underground, new metal, that kind of stuff. Rob Zombie, Pitch Shifter are perfect examples of bands that fit just perfectly in the TM universe. So yeah, I would love to see some type of soundtrack return with these bands and bring them back into the limelight. It would be super cool to see that. Number 8 is I would love to see more than 9 levels in tournament mode. Again, this comes back to my number 5, is if they were to add a tried and true tournament mode back into the game, I would just love to see more than 9 levels. I feel every TM pretty much has only had like 8 or 9 levels in the tournament, and then you get to the final boss and it's over. It's just kind of a rinse and repeat. It's getting old. Even though I obviously, me and pretty much everybody watching this video can go through a full tournament and still have fun with it to this day, you have to admit that it's kind of tough to do that and then want to redo it immediately after and with another character. It just gets old. You have to take a break and come back to it later. Where I don't think it would be as monotonous if there was just more variety in the tournament mode, if there was more levels to choose from. And I also loved the ideas in Head On and in Black, where once you defeat a level or a certain level in the tournament, you get to choose between 2 different levels to give you more variety the next time you come to the tournament. I think they need to do that more often. So again, overall, just add more levels at launch. They obviously could add more down the line with DLC and stuff, which would be cool, but just at launch, I would like to see at least like 11, maybe 12 maps total at a minimum, so that if there was a tournament mode, they can have a lot more options to the player on which one they want to choose to make every playthrough a little bit more unique. And also, of course, we want to see all types of levels. I want small, medium, and large. I did feel 2012 maps were a bit too large, and especially every single one of them was huge. They didn't really have any small levels in the main tournament, which was kind of a bummer. So I would love to see a return of all the mixtures, small, medium, and large. Even though 2012's map design was really good, I loved most of the maps in that game. They just were a little bit too large for my liking. I truly don't mind small and medium as well. Number 9, I would like to see fast-paced gameplay make a return, of course, with a brand new engine. That's a given, though. That will happen, so not really worried about that. But again, I want to see it more fast-paced, like we got in Twisted Metal Black, and even in 2012. I think 2012 did it perfectly. I think it was a very fast-paced game. It was fun, frantic gameplay. A lot of people complained about the control scheme. I honestly didn't have a problem with it. I got used to it pretty quickly. So even if they return to that control scheme, I'd be fine with it. But at least give people options to control, set up the controller the way they want. Let us go into the options and change buttons around the way we want to make it feel the best for every player. Don't force us to do one or the other. I think that's really stupid. And that's what they did in 2012, which was a big bummer. One last thing is, I don't want to see any more snipers, and do not, for the love of God, bring back the different types of machine guns that we had in 2012. It's fine if they add a power-up that you can pick up that gives you the massive machine guns like we saw in Head-On and Black for like, 15 seconds or whatever it is, but just don't bring back the other shit. There's no reason for it. It just clutters up the gameplay, and it honestly is more annoying than not, especially in multiplayer scenarios. And number 10, bring back the World Tour aesthetic of TM2 and Head-On. The reason I bring this up is because 2012 really didn't do that. I have to admit, they gave a lot of creativity in their levels. I absolutely love the level design, like I said it before. But nothing felt like it was in the real world. They all kind of felt like they were in a video game. I don't really know how to explain this correctly. I'm probably not explaining it right. But to me, they didn't feel like they were a part of the real world, that these were areas where I could actually go to and see this in real life. Where in, 2012, or TM2, sorry, and in Head-On, they were literally landmark levels taken from real world scenarios. You got Paris, Amazonia, Antarctica, Holland, you name it, LA. You have all these different areas where even if they're not the exact layout of the real world area, just having those landmarks in the background with the music aesthetic and having it just have that environment of like you are in that space is really cool. And I love that. And I think it would be really cool to come back to that. But my one caveat with it is I would like to see places that we have not yet visited in Twisted Metal. I know that's really difficult because there's so many games and they've made so many levels that we pretty much have visited almost every place of the world, at least the ones that would be interesting for a level. But, there's places like Japan we haven't been to and stuff like that. Maybe in Head-On they did Japan, I can't remember. But, it's just stuff like that. I think they could make it unique. They could make it new and inviting. Make a new version of Paris, make a new version of LA or whatever. Maybe even bring new places like Texas or something. I don't know, new landmarks, right? They could do it. I would just like to see more real world locations put into the creativity of the level design, not just straight up, these are randomly, random created levels that could be in any game, right? That's really all I'm saying. So I know I kind of went on a little bit of a rant here. I kind of rambled a little bit on some of my points, but I hope these 10 major points made sense for what I want to see in a brand new Twisted Metal game. Let me know in the comment section below what you think are your top 10 things that you want to see in a brand new game, and if you agree with any of mine or if you disagree. If you disagree, that's totally fine. Let me know, which ones you disagree with and which ones you'd rather change and what your changes would be. I love hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure to leave a like to show your support as always, which gets this video shared around, so hopefully somebody in the development team, that of course is secret at the moment, but somebody who's working on the new Twisted Metal can see this, and hopefully they get some pointers from someone who is a huge fan, and I just want nothing but the best for this game to be a success. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a good one. We'll hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of the video. Before we head out, I want to give a huge special thank you to our channel members. These are amazing people who are wanting to support the channel and the content here. And if you want to do the same, you can click the little join button underneath every single new upload. And in becoming a channel member not only supports me and the channel, but also gives you a ton of perks in doing so, including early access to new content and being a part of exclusive polls and information that other people would not be able to access. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you again so much for the love and support, and we'll hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out.